It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the UMass Boston's assistant softball coach, Coach Allison Smith. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college softball?
Yeah, I have a unique path. So I'm not a normal assistant coach. I'm actually a professor here at UMass Boston. So I'm a former collegiate softball player that decided to go get a PhD and kind of do work outside of softball for a while. I always did lessons and coached some travel teams. And it honestly happened very happenstance. I was at a meeting for athletics. I was presenting to them about some diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives that we had on our campus. And I met our head coach for our softball team, Natalia, and we hit it off. And I volunteered to throw BP. I was like, I'll just throw batting practice if you ever need somebody to come throw. And she kind of challenged me and said, like, well, why don't you coach with us? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'd be a good fit for that. And I went to my first practice and completely fell in love with it and was very excited to join the staff. So I'm going into my second season now. So I've been with the team for almost 2 years.
What was that experience like going to Manhattan College and playing college softball there?
Yeah, so I'm from a really small town, Daleville, Virginia. Probably no one has heard of it. It's outside of Roanoke, Virginia. So I got a very big culture shock going to Manhattan. I went from a small high school where, I'm one of very few athletes that got to sign to go play college sport, and I'm thrusted into this massive city right in downtown New York City. So for me, it was a big culture shock. I won't lie, Manhattan College wasn't a really great experience for me. I didn't feel like it was the right fit for me probably about halfway through my first year, my freshman year. And this is before the transfer portal, right? So your coaches had a lot more say on what you could do to leave a school. So that spring, I played through my spring season and then decided after that to transfer, to look at transfer options. And so I went to Wingate University, which is a Division II school in Wingate, North Carolina. I had done a campus visit with them when I was being recruited. So I thought, let me see if they need a pitcher. Let me just throw my name in the hat. And luckily, they had two pitchers that had left the team and they were in desperate need of somebody. So I kind of rolled right in my sophomore year, began playing at Wingate.
What was that experience like transferring to Wingate and getting to start and becoming a pitcher at Wingate?
Yeah, so when I made the decision to transfer, I wanted to stay in the Division I level, but that wasn't possible. So at the time with the NCAA, you had to go down a division or you'd have to sit for a year. I wasn't willing to sit. I didn't want that to happen. So when I went to Wingate, I rolled right into the team and earned a starting role. So I had another pitcher. Her and I were kind of the 1-2 the entire 3 years I was there. So one of us would start one game, one of us would start the other. But for me, it felt like home. Like it was back in the South where I'm from. It was 3.5 hours from my family. So my family came to almost all of my games. It's a really tight knit community. It's a college of about 5,000 students total. So going from big city to Wingate felt more like home. And it felt like when I walked onto campus that I had made the right choice. And our team was excellent. The history of the team was winning championships and going to regionals, and I wanted to compete at a place where I could win a ring. I wasn't looking to just go play somewhere. I wanted to go make a difference and win a championship, which I was lucky we did while I was there.
As a college athlete, what was that experience like putting on both jerseys at Manhattan College and then going to Wingate and putting on that jersey?
Yeah, I think as a freshman, I didn't really understand how cool it was to play college softball. Like I had wanted to play college softball my whole life. So I think putting on the jersey at Manhattan, I don't think I was really like cognizant of how cool that was. When I went to Wingate, I think because I didn't have the experience I wanted at Manhattan, I was so thankful to find a place to play that putting on the jersey there really meant something to me. It was, this source of pride for not only my family and me, but for my team. So I, when I played at Wingate, it was fantastic and I loved it. And I loved being able to represent and put on that jersey and to represent Wingate when we played in conferences or around the region, just to kind of be that good representation for our school.
What were some of your biggest softball accomplishments on the playing field? And what was that experience like getting to put on that ring and winning a championship?
Yeah, so we won a championship. We won our conference my sophomore year. We came close our senior year. Junior year was a little bit of a down year for us, and it really wasn't. We still did fantastic, but when you play for someone who set a standard of winning championships, not winning or not coming in the top three is like, it destroys you, right? So I played for a coach and for a culture that won often. So that was really cool. I think personally for me, my first game, my junior year, I threw a no-hitter. So that was like a big, monumental game. And it kind of set the standard the rest of the year. I felt like I needed to chase, throwing a no-hitter. I was National Player of the Year twice my senior year, which was really cool. I have a lot of cool accolades of things that I did individually, but I think what was the best part of Wingate was being a part of a team that won a championship and grew together and like have these relationships with, my fellow players, my coaches.
Before getting into college coaching, what was that experience like for you getting to become a travel ball coach?
Yeah. So I became a travel ball coach almost right after I graduated from Wingate. So I was 23 years old trying to coach these 16, 17, 18-year-old young women. And so I think my role when I took on the particular team that I coached for the Carolina Cardinals, which is out of North and South Carolina, the team that kind of borders both states. I really felt like my role was to kind of be this champion for our athletes and to kind of talk to them about life and kind of be a resource for them because I wasn't that far removed from where they were. So when they wanted to talk about the recruiting process, I could tell them very tangibly, here are things you can do, here are examples, these are camps you should go to. I think my age at the time actually was a benefit because it allowed me to really connect with our players because I was so close to their age.
What was that transition like for you as a coach, going from being a travel ball coach to getting onto the college level?
Yeah, so I think I'm lucky. So I'm a pitching coach. I will openly admit to anyone that ever asks that like my skill set is pitching. I am not good at hitting or fielding or any of the other X's and O's, right? Like my specialty is this one very unique thing. So for me, I don't feel like it was like a big transition and change because I had been working with college level pitchers giving lessons for years. I had been working with high school athletes that were trying to make it to the college level for years. And I think it's just about how do you connect with someone to help them achieve their goals, right? Because it's not about me as the coach. Like my role is to help support them and to help them achieve whatever they want to achieve. And that role hasn't really changed here at UMass Boston. I do the same thing. Like my goal is to just help them be the best player they can be on the field. And a lot of it comes down to, for me, just being really authentic, being really open and honest with them, with particularly our pitchers, and just championing them because pitching is hard. You're in the center of the field, you're the center of attention. When it's good, everybody wants to praise you, and when it's bad, everybody wants to boo you. So for me, I try to be this even keel for our pitchers and try to be their source of confidence because it is a tough gig to be the pitcher and to be, responsible for every play of the game.
For you as a coach, what was that feeling like the first time you got to step onto that softball field at UMass Boston?
Yeah, it kind of took me back to playing at Wingate. Like it just kind of transported me back to the love that I have for the game and the love that I've always had for the game. But I think as a professor and someone who also is, on a different side of campus, I hadn't really thought about the possibility of ever coaching in a collegiate environment. So when I got to finally step on the field again, I felt kind of like that kid again, that college player, just really excited. I was probably more hyped than some of our players because I was just like way too pumped up. But it was just so cool to be back in that environment and to watch them play and to get to see all their hard work pay off. I mean, there's no greater feeling as a coach than to see them succeed.
Of course, as you mentioned, what is that like, obviously being a professor at the university and also being an assistant softball coach?
Yeah, it comes with unique challenges. So my softball coaching role is volunteer. I'm a volunteer. It's voluntary. I try to go as much as I can and be as involved as I can. But obviously, my professor job pays my bills, and it's where I'm supposed to be most of the time. So it's been a balancing act. Some semesters it's been really easy, like the softball schedule and my work schedule align, and I can be there a lot. And sometimes it's not, and I have to make sacrifices away from the team. I don't love that because I love the team. I love being a part of it. But I also think it comes with a lot of benefits. I have 2 players on my team that are in our major, so I am not only their coach, but I'm their professor most of the time. And I think it's allowed me to get to know them more because I see them in 2 very different facets of life that probably most coaches don't see their players in, right? So I not only teach them, but I coach them. And so it's made us super close. I have great relationships, particularly with those 2 players. And I think it's just because we spend so much time together.
Of course, as you mentioned that, what is that like, obviously being a professor and having some of your athletes be in your class, but then also seeing them on the softball field where you can relate more to them on the softball side?
Yeah, I think it's been, at least for my team, it's been super positive. All of our players are great academic athletes. Like they take school seriously. They go like I don't have to worry about them not going to class or making mistakes like that. They go to class, they do what they're supposed to do, they get great grades. So for me, I think our players, especially the ones that are in my major or taking classes with me, would say like I maybe even a little harder on them because I have really high expectations of them. Like they're not only my student, but they're my player. I'm like the double standard here is that I want you to really achieve and to meet those expectations. But both of my 2 athletes that are actually within our major are fantastic. Like they're 2 of our top performing students. They take class super seriously. I never have to worry about those kind of things, missing class, not doing things that they're supposed to do. They're excellent students and they're excellent student athletes.
So far for you as the assistant coach, what have been some of your biggest accomplishments on the softball field?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. So I was in a unique position last year where we only had 3 pitchers, and we had to battle a lot of injuries. Excuse me. So for us last year, one of our junior pitchers, who's now going to be a senior, she lowered her ERA in conference and overall. She had a record-breaking year in terms of the amount of strikeouts that she had, got her walks down. So she kind of really rose to the top in terms of our pitching staff and was someone we could depend on in really big games. So for me, that felt really great, right? So as a pitching coach, you always want to see that their staff improve under your leadership or under your coaching. So that was really great to see. I think I'm really excited this year though, because we finally have a staff of enough pitchers. Whereas last year we were always battling injuries. At one point we pulled one of our position players who played in high school. We made her pitch because we needed a pitcher so bad because we had so many injuries. So this year I'm really excited that we have a full staff. We have 5 pitchers this year. That's excellent for me. Much easier to manage 5 of them and to think about who's going to pitch when and innings so that we don't have injuries. I think a lot of our injuries last year came because 2 of our pitchers had to throw almost all of the innings. Like that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. As someone who was a pitcher that threw most of the innings, I can tell you it's a lot of wear and tear on your body. So I'm excited for this season because I think this is going to be a true test of like who we are as a pitching staff now that we have enough people to be a staff.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you started to help to build for the softball program at UMass Boston?
Yeah, I think that my role on the team is kind of unique. I need to be the even keel coach. So I don't really get too high. I don't really get too low. I'm not a yeller. My coaching style is very like clear, direct communication. And it's all about how do I care for the athlete? How do I keep them injury free? How do I help them progress in their pitching? How do I help them achieve their goals? So I think for me, like I kind of bring the calm in terms of the coaching staff. Our head coach is fantastic. She is so caring. She cares deeply about each and every one of our players. She's just very vocal on the field, which is great. You need a coach that does that. You need a coach that's going to challenge the umpires or is going to be louder and get more of that, kind of spirit going. And so for me, my role is to not be that. I step back and I try to be very calm for the team, especially for my pitching staff, because I think with pitching, if you have someone who's constantly up and down, it makes you also feel that way on the mound. Like you're worried about how's your coach going to react. So I try to really instill more of like a quiet confidence in the players.
Of course, who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
Yeah, so we have quite a few. I wrote them down so I didn't say any of them incorrectly. So we have UMass Dartmouth, Eastern Connecticut State University, who won the conference last year. They're always the biggest rival. They've won it consistently for several years. Keene State, Plymouth State, Rhode Island College, University of Southern Maine, Vermont State at Castleton, and Western Connecticut State University. So we're very regional. Like everything is within, Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and Connecticut, which is great because we're a Division III school, right? So we don't need to travel like Division I schools, like the now Big 12 and Big 10. We don't need to go across the country. We need to stay in our little region and compete and win in that region.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like UMass Dartmouth come to home?
Yeah, so our team prides itself on being the most annoying team in the conference. They're super loud. They cheer constantly. They get under your skin. So I don't think teams honestly like coming to play us because we have good support staff from other coaches invite their players. We have a lot of fans. A lot of them are other student athletes on our campus that come to our games. And so our team is already loud. Our fans are loud. So I think for other teams, they probably don't really enjoy coming to us because they know that they're going to get this like very loud, chaotic environment. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I played on a team in college that wasn't really allowed to cheer. So it was a lot quieter when I played. Whereas they'll break decimals, like they are loud and it's fun. It's fun to be around it. And I do think it is a little intimidating and it kind of gives us a little bit of an advantage when we play at home.
What is that away atmosphere like when you go to teams like Southern Maine?
Yeah, so last year I didn't get to travel to that particular match, but I think similar situation, right? So some of our schools and our conferences have these unique setups for their field. Like one of our competitors, there's a dorm directly behind the field. They're one of the loudest schools that we play at because people sit out on their dorm and they sit out on their patios and they cheer and watch the game. So I think we get a little bit of our own medicine to go away because we're known as the loud team. We're known as the really, loud, obnoxious team. So when we go play somewhere else, I think we get a little bit of that back, which is good. I think our players need to be challenged in that way, and they need to play in these really cool environments. Like nobody likes to play when no one comes to a game. That's not fun. So I think that they actually enjoy it, despite the fact that we get a lot of noise back from a lot of teams.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a coach, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, so we're in a unique situation. So we're a Division III institution where we don't give stuff. So a student that is interested in UMass Boston needs to be interested in us for academics, a major, or something that they feel like UMass Boston can give to them. They need to know that they're going to move to a major, metro city with a lot of people and a lot of kind of crazy energy. So if you're not a city person, UMass Boston wouldn't be a good school for you. So those two things are kind of right out the gate that we make sure that they feel good about those two elements. And then we start to look at, their videos, highlight videos. We go to tournaments and scouts. I don't scout personally, my head coach does. So she'll send me videos like, hey, I saw this picture. What do you think? And I'm looking for a couple things when I'm looking at pictures. I'm looking for certain skill sets and certain mechanical things that I want to hone in on. And then it's just about interest. So we invite a lot of our prospective student athletes to camps on our campus so that we get to see them interact with the girls. We get to see them, take live at bats or live fielding. It's hard sometimes when you go to a tournament to really feel like you've captured who a player is. So we really like to invite them to our camp so that we get to kind of know them more. And then if they, are assigned recruits, a lot of times they'll come do a full camp or clinic, and then they'll stay overnight with one of our players and kind of experience college life for a day. And that's really cool too, to see them kind of blossom and decide like, yeah, I really do want to come to UMass Boston now. I've been here on the field and now I've been here on campus.
As a coach, what is it like seeing those players fall in love with the campus and the softball field and commit?
Yeah, I mean, like there's no greater feeling, right? Because you want to get the best players for your team and for your organization, and for us, it's no different. We want our players to come and love UMass Boston, and you've got to be okay playing in the cold. It's not warm up there for the first couple months of season. So for us, when we finally get a player that commits, a player that's got a lot of talent that we feel like can really help our team, of course, as a staff, we're super excited. There's no greater feeling than when a kid commits to your school and you can tell that they like are really excited to come there and they think they're going to make a difference on the field and in the classroom. There's no greater feeling.
As a coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that UMass Boston softball jersey for the first time?
Yeah, I think it's fun to see them get really excited putting on the jersey. And some of our freshmen last year started right out, as freshmen. They were, starters on the field. And so I think for them, there was a little bit of nerves. Everybody has nerves when they're starting as a freshman. But it was also amazing to see how much they developed over the course of the year. So that those nerves and that nervous energy turned into like confidence. And one of our freshmen led the league in all these hitting categories. And it was amazing to see her transformation from her first game to like the end of the season and what she was able to do and kind of the ways in which she was able to game.
As a coach, what's it like seeing those seniors put on that jersey for the last time and represent UMass Boston?
Yeah, I mean, that's the sad part, right? So when you've got an amazing senior class that's going to graduate and leave, I think you see them, especially when they're seniors, really cherish every single time they get. We had a senior captain last year who was by far the greatest captain I think I've ever seen. And I've coached a lot of different teams. I've been on a lot of different teams, but the ways in which she could talk and relate to all of the different players on our team and kind of quietly maybe put down inter-team disputes and just communicate with us as the coaches. When she left, I was so sad, because she'd made such a big impact on the team. And I think that's how every senior feels. Like they're trying to look back on their career and remember the good memories and their time with their teammates and the silly little things they do on the bus and the braiding of the hair and all the things that they, that make being a part of a team cool. I think it's just bittersweet. I think it's bittersweet for them and it's bittersweet for us as coaches, when they finally leave. But I think it's also amazing because most of our athletes go out of our program and they go do incredible things. They're in nursing schools, they're in grad programs, they've got these great full-time marketing jobs. Like they're incredible people. And I think that's what we have to be the most proud of is not only did we help them on the field, but they're these incredible people that are going out into the world. And that always gives me a lot of pride.
As a coach and a pitcher coach, what is it like seeing your pitchers and players achieve those big milestones, whether it's their first home run, their first pitch, their first no-hitter?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's like no greater feeling than when you see them achieve their goals. You see all the work that they put in during the off season, during winter practice. So we practice at 5:30 in the morning for our team until we go play our first game. Our players are up 4:30 in the morning. They're coming into practice with high energy. So to see when they finally get, the first home run or they have a multiple strikeout game or they don't give up any earned runs, like it always takes me back to all the work that they put in and all the sacrifice that they gave to get to that point. And so that, obviously as a coach, I'm super proud of them for everything they achieve. Even if they don't make these big milestones, I still am proud of them. But for me, it's cool to see them achieve their goals. And for a lot of our players, it is, chasing some numbers or some stats because that's what gets them really excited and it helps them be competitive.
What are some of your future plans for the softball program moving forward?
Oh man, that's such a good question. Well, again, I won't speak to the whole team. I know we want to win a conference championship this year. I think we have the staff to finally do it. I think last year, because of injuries at a lot of key positions, I don't think we were our best team out on the field. I think we were missing several key people that we needed to really win a championship. I think we have those people this year. So I think for us, it's about winning the Little East Conference this year. That's what we want to do. Eastern Connecticut has won it too many years in a row. We need to take that title away from them. So that's our goal. For me, for my pitching staff, I think it's keeping them healthy. I know that that's not a really, super fantastic, super fun goal, but with pitching, it just wears and tears on the body. And I want to make sure our athletes are as healthy when they start the season as when they finish the season. Because I know as a pitcher, as a former pitcher, if I can do that, they're going to achieve all the other things. They're going to have great things. They're going to have, no-hitter games or, games where we don't allow people to score. But we've got to start with keeping them super healthy and making sure that we're doing the right recovery so they can make it a full season. We play a lot of games. Got to make it all the way through.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college softball?
Oh, man. I think being open to maybe perspectives and changes to maybe your style or maybe your mechanics or just being open to being a new member of the team, right? I think a lot of athletes, I can think about myself when I went to Manhattan, like I wanted to be a starter. And when I wasn't, I had a really hard time with it. And so I think if I had maybe been a little bit more open to the process and to my development, like just getting better as a pitcher, instead of worrying about, am I going to start? Am I going to play? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? I think as freshmen, if you can come in with just a really open mindset to growing and getting better and being really positive for your team, like you're going to play. That mindset is going to help you get on the field. So I think that would be a big piece of advice.
What advice would you give those college seniors out there that are looking to play on the next level, whether it's Athletes Unlimited, the MPF, or even overseas professionally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the sky's the limit, but you've got to make sure that you're sacrificing and putting in the work, right? So it's obviously harder for Division II or Division III athletes to maybe make that big transition to pro softball or international softball, but it can be done. I played international softball when I graduated, and I played at a Division II school. But I think it's about making sure you keep your mindset on that goal, and that the things that you're doing are helping promote the goal. So, maybe it means that you don't get to quite do as many things with other people on campus, or you can't be involved in quite as many things, but you have a bigger thing you're trying to achieve that you're focusing on. So I think that it's just about staying true to the course, like staying true to your development and making sure you're finding ways to be better. So whether that's, within your own team or, maybe playing in some 23 and under teams throughout the summer so that you get more reps. I think it's just about how do you continuously take the next step.
What advice would you give those players looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities to coach. So I think, one of the best ways to start out is to get a graduate assistantship. Almost every institution offers graduate assistantships for coaches. That allows you to get a master's degree, which can help you as you progress in your life, whether you just coach or you don't. And it also allows you to get your feet wet and to take on some responsibilities and to see the other side of the team, right? So if you're a player, you see one side of life. That's how it works on your team. When you become a member of the coaching staff, you see a very different side. So a lot of people, start out by being a GA and then they progress to, assistant coaches and moving up the ladder. I think the other big thing is you've got to be super flexible if you want to get into coaching, right? So you've got to be open to moving a lot and to coaching at a lot of different places. Not everybody gets to immediately get their dream job at their dream school and be coaching there for 30 years. For some people, that's awesome that distance, but for some people, there's a lot more movement. So you've got to be open to maybe transitioning and moving and working your way up to the level that you want to coach at.
What advice would you have those future assistant coaches out there looking to become assistant coaches and start in the softball world?
Yeah, I say that's a good question too. That's big questions, Brandon. I think that I would say, if that's a goal that you want, then go after it. Go get your feet wet and try to coach either high school or travel softball or volunteer at maybe your school's clinics and camps so that you're always getting reps as a coach. Keeping your network close, the people you played with and coaching staff you played for, make sure you're communicating with them that you are coaching. And just sharpening your skills. So going to conferences, going to NFCA, the National Fast Pitch Association conference, just like honing your skills to make sure that when you get that opportunity, you're really ready to go for it.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the UMass Boston softball program?
Yeah, so I'm only on Twitter. I'm lame. I'm only on Twitter. You can find me at Allison B as in boy Smith 15. That's my personal handle. And then for our team, we have Instagram and we have a Twitter for our team. So it's at UMB softball. So feel free to check us out. One of my students and student athletes is our social media manager. She's got all kinds of creative ways to really hype us up on Instagram. And you can kind of see some of her graphic design and her marketing work through our Instagram page. So I got to hype up Emily Doble because she does such a good job for our team.
Thank you again, Coach Allison Smith, for your interview and best of luck in your future as the assistant coach at UMass Boston.
Yeah, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Allison Smith, for your interview and best luck in your future.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.